As we move into season 20 here on Forging a Nation in Iceland with the Þrjótafélagið, we have had a season which has finally seen us make small amounts of progress in Europe, but not enough because Portugal had the absolute mother of all seasons. Bit more of a season review kind of vibe again today, everyone. Quickly get the admin out the way for that. Basically, I have just come back today from, yesterday, from being away on a course for work for 5 days in Sheffield. I drove up on the Friday and planned on recording the Champions League games on the Thursday. However, once again, I've been ill. I was on antibiotics for a really bad chest infection. Still not quite right, even though I finished them. But yeah, basically my plan was to record the episode on the Thursday/Friday before I went up to Sheffield, but I was just completely wiped out. I had a massive temperature. I was so poorly. In the end, I basically am just, like I said, doing another sort of season review. I've also got the next one ready, and that is also going to be another season review type thing. It does feel, to be fair, like we're kind of getting to a point where our progress in Europe, from our point of view, is quite stable. We've established ourselves as a team who can get out of the Champions League now, and you'll see what happened this season as well as to how we got on in this Champions League phase and what that meant going forwards. And we've also got a lot of transfers to touch on. So I saw you last time out after we played against Hoffenheim, where we won 4-0. And we knew that we was playing Arsenal and Milan. We weren't really expecting to get anything out of either of those games. And then we were going to be relying on the last couple of matches to sort of really see us through, where we were playing. I can't even remember who it was now. We'll touch on that in a second. But as you can see, we went to the Emirates and somehow managed to win 3-2. We actually went 3-0 up, and then Arsenal just threw the kitchen sink at us and inevitably came back into the game. But we managed to hold on for a priceless 3-2 victory at Arsenal, a team we played a lot over the last few seasons and sort of permanently come unstuck against them. But we actually managed to get the job done this time. And that then saw us welcome Milan to Iceland, and in a very even game, it took an 86-minute equaliser from Edson Bernardes for Milan to take anything back to Italy, a nice 1-1 draw. And that meant that realistically, from 2 games where we thought we might be able to get 1 point push, we actually managed to get 4, and that was absolutely humongous for us. And then we played PSV and we won 5-2. Lovely, comfortable win away from home. And things were looking great. And I can't even remember if it was actually after the Milan game or this game where it guaranteed us our spot in the playoffs. And then a nice routine victory away from home against Zagreb, a team who we played quite a few times now, and we just seem to have absolutely no issue getting past them. And that saw us finish 10th, level on points with 8th place Real Madrid, but just missing out on goal difference. You know what? That was phenomenal. To get a top half of that playoff spot finish, literally just to miss out on 8th place on goal difference, was absolutely phenomenal. And you could see with this bottom half of this draw, we were quite optimistic that whoever we drew, if we could dodge these 3, we'd have a good chance, unless we obviously drew Bordeaux again, who we seem to have a bit of an unlucky time against. But as it was, we drew Villarreal, who we'd beaten 4-1 in the league phase, and we lost 2-0 through 2 very, I would say, quite fortunate goals for Villarreal. 2 complete lapses in concentration from our defenders and our goalkeeper, which led to them just crosses across the box, which they just tapped in, basically sort of relatively unmarked for, I think, the Goncalo Freitas goal, and the Kike Torres goal was a bit of a bounce around in the box. No one sort of really took charge, and he just tapped it in. And despite us actually having a similar number of chances to them, we couldn't get the XG to match, and we just couldn't really get the ball in the back of the net. However, we needn't have worried too much because we came back and beat them 5-0 in the second leg at home. The only real frustration was that we missed out on the coefficient points through losing the first leg, but comfortably sailed through for the first time into the round of 16 of the Champions League, where our reward would be Bayern Munich, and in an absolute ding-dong game where we had the same number of shots as them, slightly less XG, possession-wise not too bad. It felt like every chance they had went in. They scored 5 goals or 5 shots on target, and we only managed to get 2. Charpentier, I feel, probably a little bit harshly done by, but maybe it was just more the volume of goals he conceded. Really frustrating that we couldn't get anything more tangible out of this game, especially when it was only 2-1 at half time. Yeah, really frustrating that was how the tie went, and really left us with a really tough job to get anything in Munich, which certainly proved to be the case. A 1-1 draw away in Munich. Santiago Coelho gave us the lead, but unfortunately 6-3 loss overall in aggregate saw us exit at the round of 16. But you know what? Fair play, we got to the round of 16 for the first time, and on another day, first leg, some of those chances go in for us. Who knows? Could have been a completely different story. But lose 5-2 off an XG of like 2.5 to 1.6, you know, tells the story really. Just really unlucky, but that happens. As for the Europa League teams, HK would lose 1-0 to Rapid Wien, 2-0 to Leverkusen, frustratingly 2-1 to Casapia, Portuguese team who we were desperately trying to overthrow. But a win at home against Dinamo Minsk, despite a loss to Sparta Prague, would actually see them through, where they would once again face off against Wien, and a 2-1 win at home, followed up with a nice 2-1 win away, would see them go through to play Marseille in the round of 16. Where after a 0-0 draw at home, they would then go and get a win on penalties away in Marseille. And the reward for that was a quarter-final against Napoli, and they actually managed to win 2-0 at home. A little bit of a smash and grab, but you know what? They got the result, and that was all that mattered. But unfortunately, in the return leg, it was just too big of an ask, and Napoli had just too much quality for them, and they did get past them. Meanwhile, after we last saw Braither get that 1-0 win against Mallorca, they would then draw 1-1 with Partizan, before also losing to Leverkusen. A little bit more even this time, though. And then stuffed Ike Athens 5-0, and then got a narrow 1-0 away from home against Lech Poznan. However, their reward would be Valencia, and they lost 2-0 on aggregate in the knockout playoff round. Hafnarfjörður, on the other hand, would draw 1-1 with Legia Warsaw. Frustratingly drew with Braga 2-2. For reasons we mentioned, we needed the points over Portugal. For a comfortable 4-2 win away at Olimpia Ljubljana, and a 2-1 win away at Donetsk Streda. And now we can quickly look at the table, and you'll see that actually got them into 8th place. Just on goal difference, but it still counts. And we had Braither and HK finishing in the bottom half of the playoffs. But Hafnarfjörð's reward for bypassing that playoff round and going to the round of 16 would be Roma, where they would be comfortably dumped out 6-1 on aggregate, unfortunately. Yeah, Roma just had too much quality for them. Even though, in this second leg, Hafnarfjörður had an XG of 3.53 to Roma's 1.4. And it's very much sort of, you know, obviously not identical, but similar sort of look that we had against Bayern Munich, where, you know, they had only, you know, 1 goal difference really in the XG, and they scored 3 more goals than us. Hafnarfjörður absolutely dominated this game and just obviously just couldn't put the ball in the net, apart from that 1 goal from Daniel Selad. However, the real issue we had was that Portugal got 2 teams to the Europa League semi-final and 1 team to the Champions League semi-final. They also then had Benfica get to the Europa League final, so they landed on a 23.25 season, actually coming second in the coefficient race for that season. So even though we had a 14.4 building on like the season that we'd lost, they just absolutely smashed it and had an unreal season, which means that going into next season we're going to start just about a point behind. But very frustrating that they decided to send absolute European beasts this year. Meanwhile, in terms of transfers, you can see that in January and so far in July, we've been fairly active, but also mainly in the outgoings. 122 mil out, 50 mil in. I think a couple of these players, none of these players you'll have seen so far. So Gustavo Gomez, Vicente Julio, Yosimar Garayab are all pretty much loan farm players, and they have, with the exception of Julio all gone out on loan. Gustavo Gomez is at Fylkir, and Garayab is out on loan at Braither. And then Martin Tentugal, he is actually out on loan at Braither as well. He's really young. He's someone who might potentially be able to do a job for us on the wing, but he's doing well at Braither so far, so no reason to change that. We can let him carry on developing there. Then we brought in a couple of who I would hope to be, we've been looking for these sort of bigger name players who can potentially help take us forward a level. So Nathan Bess, there's someone who our scouts found when he was still, 17. And he's coming at the age of 19 to basically be a central defensive option. Good personality. Basically, I'm hoping with some of these players that they're going to come in from like big clubs, have good sort of mentality, good attitude, hopefully turn into consistent players who enjoy big matches. He's certainly not the most technically gifted in terms of what we want, from playing out from the back. But he's a good player, and, we managed to get him for 17.75 mil when literally 3 years ago, two years ago, he was worth 60. So we reckon that at the worst case scenario, we should be able to flip him for a profit. Alexander Andre has come in because you may have seen that Sasha Bersha has left. So he's basically come in to be a new option on the right-hand side for us. Coming in from Braga for 19 million. Again, we are... Feels like a slight waste really to be playing him as an advanced playmaker when his crossing is so much better than his passing and his vision. But that's the role we use, and we're going to try and develop him for that. At the end of the day, Valoma and Sasha Bersha admittedly had better passing attributes, but have done, did really well in that role for us. So we're hopeful that Alexander Andre can do the same. Lars Goldberg is someone who's come in from Copenhagen. Hopefully someone we can get out into the loan farm, but we're going to try and develop him to play that regista role for us. He's already got good dribbling and passing, so if we can get him just to work on that, as you can see, the attributes that are highlighted for that role, he's not that far off from being sort of pretty competent at that. So if we can keep him working on that at the age of 18, he should hopefully turn into a decent option there. And then the last signing, well, the most recent signing we've done is Güneş Ugon coming in from Gençlerbirliği. I probably butchered that, out in Turkey, for 8.5 mil. Very versatile, but again, someone we're going to train to play in a slightly deeper role, primarily as that regista. We can work on his dribbling. The age of 18, he's young, consistent already, determined, someone who I think can hopefully develop into a good player for us, and with that stamina, hopefully be able to run that midfield for most games, hopefully he won't get tired very easily. And now it's time to touch on the 120 odd million worth of out. So first off was Sasha Bersha. So we had a couple of clubs bid for him, Chelsea being one of the main ones, and that was where he really wanted to go. But Madrid bid more for him, and I basically hoped that accepting the bid from Madrid would maybe flush Chelsea out a bid more. It didn't work that way, but we still sold him for 13.5 million, which I can't remember how much we signed him for, but what was it? Something like 2.7 mil. So an amazing profit on him. He'd been a good player, but someone who wanted to go, was anchoring for the move, and 23 million was too good to turn down in the end. Another player who we ended up selling for big money was Jordan Hunt, and actually this was our record sale at this point in the save for 69 million to Chelsea. Again, he was another one. He was anchoring for the move, and we were getting a couple of these players. We're starting to get sort of like 2-3 years left on their contract, and terrified of getting hit with the the whole I'm going to leave on a free transfer, I'm going to consider my options, etc. He actually won the Champions League in his first season with Chelsea. How much of a role he played in that, I guess we don't know. Did he play much in Continental for them? He made 2 starts, 4 sub appearances, but for 3.1 mil to flip him for 61 mil after what's that, 4 seasons, he's been a brilliant player for us. I mean, just look at those numbers in that Volante role. And it was inevitable. We were always going to struggle to keep hold of players like this at this stage. We're still not a big enough club where we can really keep players once they sort of outgrow us, to be honest. There have been a couple of other sort of littler sales, like Magnus Smelas Jarl was someone we signed for the loan farm. He's gone out permanently to Hafnarfjordur for like 3 mil, so that was quite good. Maximiliano Portea, so someone he had a few bids from clubs over the last sort of like 18 months, and they'd unsettled him a little bit. And then we got hit with the whole, I'm considering my options. I'm probably going to leave on a free transfer at the end of my deal, which was in 16 months' time at this point. So it made sense to sell him, and we offered him out, and Napoli came in, and we sold him for 18.75 mil. I don't want to look at Napoli. I want to look at Maximiliano Portea. So yeah, 12 mil profit. He'd been a good player for us. He'd basically been a nice upgrade on that Davud Mahadzic that we'd had to help sort of really transition us into that. The new tactic with the regista role. So he'd basically been an upgrade on that, and it allowed us to step up, and was really helped drive us forward this season. So real shame to lose him, but it's better to get some money for him than nothing at all, obviously. So he's gone out to Napoli. I'm sure he'll do all right there, but he certainly won't be as big a player there as he was for us here in Iceland. And then the most recent sale we've done up to now was Erwin Atanasio. It went to Benfica. Another player, been unsettled by bids, and then he hit us with the whole, I'm going to leave on a free transfer. So this happened twice with 2 players very close together, which has kind of put a little bit of a question mark over some of our other players who are getting bids for. We may choose to actually let some of them go rather than risk losing them for less money. Lorenzo Rinaldi is looking like he might be one of them. We've had a few big bids for him from big players, big clubs, and he's only got like maybe 2.5 years left on this deal, and I'm worried that come sort of like next summer, if he's still here and this club's still bidding for him, he might turn around and say, listen, I'm going to go next year for nothing. So Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. But Owen Athanasio, good player, came in for us from Sporting. He's gone to Benfica, slightly controversial, but we signed him. Why does it keep showing me that? We signed him for 875k from Sporting. He'd done pretty well for us, and then we flipped him for 15 mil back to Portugal under the management, as you can see, of Eddie Howe. So yeah, frustrating to lose him because he was a good player, but to be fair, we always had this in mind when we signed him for so cheap that we'd probably end up selling him back, or selling him on for, hopefully, I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to get this much money for him, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then lastly, just a quick update on where we are at this season so far. As you can see, we're comfortably clear of HK in the division. We are in the semi-final of the cup. We won the other cups as well. So far, looking pretty good. Current sort of squad, stats-wise, what we're looking at. In terms of goals, it's Gutierrez, miles clear. Rinaldi having an absolute blinder in that attacking midfield role. 18 goals, 13 assists. Santiago Coelho, 10 goals, 14 assists. Vlad Paul, another player who's wanted. We may have to see what happens with him. Marmat, he's basically playing very much a bit part role still, but he's actually putting up some good numbers. We signed him for pretty cheap, I think it was, from Stancom, 2.9 mil. Could do with some more work on some of his mentals, but pretty good player. Basically, he was the one we bought because other clubs were interested in him and he didn't end up signing for them. So we came in, bid the 2.9, and we got him kind of for this reason, because he was wanted by Al Fateh. But, other clubs are going to come stiffing for him and we might be able to sell him on. But he's a good player, but we'll see what happens. At the age of 22, realistically, is he going to get much better than this? Well, we'll have to see. Renteria is developing really, really nicely. He's the player we've been playing primarily as this inverted wing-back role. Yeah, hopefully he continues to push on. But he's another one who will probably end up having to sell him. So I feel like I'm being very... we'll lose this person, we'll lose that person, but it just seems to be the way things are going at the moment. Financially, we are looking really, really nice. 159 mil overall balance with 109 million in the budget, and that's just all from those sales, really. I think we had like 50 mil left over from last season. We've just added to that. So even though we've sold players, signed players for decent money, we've just managed to replace it, and we've got, as you can see, massive, massive transfer budget. So I think realistically, that's kind of it for now. Like I said, a bit more of a review this time. If you enjoyed the review so far, I'll say so far, if you enjoyed the review, drop a like down below, and always leave us a comment how you feel we're going to do transfer-wise. Do you think, are we going to catch Portugal really in the next couple of seasons? That's going to be the challenge. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the episode. I will get the next review prepped and done for you as well. Get that out soon. We are pretty much ready for that as well, to be fair. Like I said, I've been working away, and when I get back from doing a day of training all day, I just sort of flake out on the bed and just play. And I was just playing this, so I'm pretty much ready for that one as well. So that should be following not long after this. But yeah, like I said, we're kind of at a point where our progress is quite stable. So obviously we'll try and get to a point where we've got some slightly more dynamic episodes and more games and stuff. But realistically, at the moment, it's just a case of just keeping you guys in the loop with where we're up to, because it's nothing sort of too radical at the moment. But obviously, we've had 3 teams now get into the Europa League latter stages as well. So latter stages, out of the group as well. We're getting 4 Icelandic teams quite consistently at the moment, qualifying from their respective European competition league phases. So that's only going to help going forward, and hopefully we can start. The next step, I think, realistically, will be someone getting to the Europa League final or the semi-final. It might be a bit of a stretch for us still at the moment to get to the Champions League semis, maybe even final. I just feel like the other clubs, as we saw with Bayern Munich, have just got that extra level of quality that we don't have yet. We still do have a young team, and I just feel like maybe that's just costing us a little bit. But the issue we have is we lose. Basically, we bring these young players in, we develop them, and then we sell them. We end up having to sell them before they really get to a point where they're experienced enough, level-headed enough, like big games enough, etc., that they can then carry us through. Obviously, we have started playing hardball a bit more in the last few seasons and not selling players, but unless the offer's really good and trying to keep hold of them. But I feel like it's we're getting to a point where really we need to start keeping some of them and tipping over into that sort of next level for us where we can start progressing. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe next year will be that year. But the main thing really is just to build on the progress of this year. Try and finish in that, top 8 if we can. So we've just narrowly missed out this year. But even if not, if we can get top half of the playoffs, give us a favourable draw, so we can get through to the round of 16 again, and who knows where else. But realistically, it's it's going to be tough still. You know, we're still doing this with just what 4 or 5 Icelandic teams professional. It's 4 because we found out that Valor have gone back to semi-pro. So we need them to bump up. I think literally missing out on Europe for like 2-3 seasons cost them. They just financially, they just couldn't support that anymore. So they've gone back to semi-pro status. So hopefully they'll get that back. We can sort of, you know, try and push some more loans. Halkar, hopefully, I think I saw they're building a new stadium. So hopefully that's a signal of their intent that if they can then get back into Europe, they can then push up. Because as I said, last year they sort of finished quite low down, so we knew they were going to miss out on Europe for going into this campaign. I think it was it this campaign? Yeah, I think it was this campaign they were missing out. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be tough. Actually, no, it's the next campaign they're missing out on because they're really struggling. That was it. That was what we said in the last episode that we had. We were worried they were gonna struggle. I'm getting confused. But yeah, I'll see you in the next episode, everyone. I've kind of waffled on a little bit. But yeah, let's see what happens. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.